Welcome to Fast History. Today we journey through one of the most fascinating chapters in human history, the rise and fall of ancient Egypt. From the dazzling heights of pharaonic power to its final breath under Roman rule, this is a story of glory, resilience, and ultimate decline. Prepare to uncover the epic tale of a civilization that shaped the world. The decline of ancient Egypt, the fall of a glorious civilization. Ancient Egypt, land of pharaohs, monumental pyramids, hieroglyphic writing, and priceless treasures, was for millennia one of the most flourishing and admired civilizations in human history. Situated along the fertile banks of the Nile, this empire built an extraordinarily organized society, supported by a strong bureaucratic apparatus, a well-trained army, and a religion so deeply rooted it permeated every aspect of daily life. Its longevity is astonishing. It thrived for over 3,000 years, withstanding invasions, famines, and political changes that would have destroyed any other kingdom. But even the brightest sun eventually sets, and the fate of ancient Egypt was no exception. This is the story of its slow yet inexorable decline, culminating in Roman domination. To understand the fall of Egypt, we must begin from its peak, the period known as the New Kingdom, an era of great territorial expansion and cultural splendor. During this time, some of the most famous pharaohs reigned, such as Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, and above all Ramses II, who consolidated Egyptian power through victorious military campaigns and majestic monuments like the Temple of Abu Simbel. However, toward the end of Ramses III's reign, the first signs of crisis appeared. The mysterious sea peoples, likely invaders from the Aegean region, caused massive damage with raids along the coast and the Nile Delta. Although Egypt managed to repel the attacks, economic resources were dwindling, and the administrative system began to show cracks. Famines, widespread corruption, and social tensions undermined stability. The collapse of the economic system, based on agricultural revenues and tributes from subjugated provinces, contributed to the gradual downfall of central authority. After Ramses III's death, successive pharaohs proved incapable of maintaining firm control over the territory. Power fragmented, and the figure of the pharaoh lost part of its divine aura and political authority. The priests of the god Ammonius in Thebes increasingly asserted political and economic influence, becoming true rivals to the state. Temples, once merely religious centers, turned into powerful institutions with vast estates, servants, and immense wealth. The duality between political and religious power weakened the foundations of the Egyptian state, which spiraled into internal weakness and growing instability. During the 8th century BCE, Egypt faced another wave of external threats. The Assyrians, one of the most aggressive and militarily advanced powers in the Near East, invaded Egyptian territory, captured key cities, and imposed heavy tributes. These invasions and the humiliation they brought dealt a devastating blow to the prestige of the Egyptian monarchy, now unable to defend its borders or maintain internal order. Already weakened by internal strife and inefficient governance, society became increasingly vulnerable. A brief glimmer of hope came with the 26th dynasty, known as the Saite period, which partially restored Egypt's independence. Pharaohs like Psamtik I attempted to bring back the kingdom's ancient glory by restoring temples and promoting a cultural renaissance reminiscent of the Golden Age. However, this revival proved fleeting, unable to halt the decay that had reached every level of society. In 525 BCE, the Persian Empire, led by King Cambyses II, son of Cyrus the Great, invaded Egypt and definitively subdued it. This occupation was particularly harsh for the Egyptians, who were forced to live under a centralized and oppressive regime, facing heavy interference in their religious practices, exorbitant taxes, and the humiliation of being treated as inferior subjects. The trauma was both cultural and political. A people who had always considered themselves divinely blessed and guardians of sacred truth found themselves ruled by foreigners who shared neither their language nor their faith. The Persian domination was briefly interrupted by local revolts, but these failed to drive out the invaders for good. In 332 BCE, Egyptian history experienced a radical turning point. Alexander the Great, the young and ambitious Macedonian leader, defeated the Persians and was welcomed by the Egyptians as a liberator. He founded the city of Alexandria, destined to become one of the most important cultural and commercial centers of the ancient Mediterranean, known for its famous library and monumental lighthouse. After Alexander's death, his vast empire was divided among his generals, and Egypt fell under the control of Ptolemy I, one of his most trusted officers, who founded the Ptolemaic dynasty. During the 3 centuries of Ptolemaic rule, Egypt experienced relative stability and economic prosperity. Greek culture superficially fused with Egyptian traditions, creating a hybrid and fascinating reality. The Ptolemies, although of Macedonian origin, proclaimed themselves pharaohs and presented themselves as guardians of local religious traditions. They built temples, supported Egyptian cults, and promoted syncretism between Greek and Egyptian deities. However, this apparent harmony masked deep tensions. The Greek ruling class remained culturally distant from the Egyptian people, and social and ethnic disparities fostered alienation and discontent. The decline of the Ptolemaic dynasty was marked by civil wars, court intrigues, and a gradual loss of control. The last great sovereign, Cleopatra VII, desperately tried to preserve Egypt's independence through astute diplomacy and personal relationships with two of Rome's most powerful men, Julius Caesar first and later Mark Antony. Intelligent, educated, and charismatic, Cleopatra hoped to make Egypt a strategic and independent ally in the Mediterranean. But Rome's internal power struggles proved stronger than her ambitions. After Mark Antony's defeat at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE by Octavian, the future Augustus, Cleopatra took her own life, tragically ending the millennia-long history of an autonomous Egyptian kingdom. In 30 BCE, Octavian entered Alexandria in triumph, and Egypt was transformed into a Roman province. Yet it was not a province like any other. It was governed directly by the emperor through a prefect and considered the personal possession of the Roman ruler due to its immense wealth and key role in supplying grain to the capital. The Roman administration imposed an extremely strict tax regime, causing widespread discontent and frequent uprisings among the local population. Municipal autonomies were abolished, and many religious traditions suppressed. Nevertheless, Alexandria continued to be a cultural beacon, a meeting point between East and West, hosting philosophers, scientists, and artists. Over the centuries, however, even this light began to dim. The rise of Christianity led to the final closure of pagan temples, the abandonment of traditional cults, and the systematic destruction of ancient religious heritage. Priests were scattered, hieroglyphics forgotten, and even the Egyptian language gradually disappeared, replaced by Greek and later Latin. The millennia-old identity of this civilization dissolved into the indifference of the empire, giving way to a new hybrid culture increasingly detached from its original roots. Thus, slowly but inexorably, ancient Egypt vanished from the stage of history, leaving behind only grand monuments, unresolved mysteries, and a sense of nostalgia for a lost era of glory. The pyramids, temples, painted tombs, and silent papyri are today the mute witnesses of a civilization that, though extinct, continues to enchant the entire world with its eternal charm, majestic grandeur, and the mystery of a past that still captivates us. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the final centuries of ancient Egypt, leave a like and share it with history lovers like you. Subscribe for more fascinating stories from the past, and let us know in the comments, which part of Egypt's long journey struck you the most? Until next time, keep exploring history's greatest legacies.